Hello, I am Will Lowry, editor at Fastener Fixing Magazine, and in this presentation I'm going to give some insight into the current situation within the UK and European fastener industry. Firstly, I will give some background on the history of the magazine and how we are closely connected within the European fastener market. I will then go on to look at countries within Europe and how they have been performing over the past 12 months. Next, I will highlight a few selected fastener companies and analyse how they are currently handling the market within Europe. After this, I will focus on some of the main factors that are impacting the fastener sector currently, including sea freight prices, potential anti-dumping tariffs, as well as Brexit. I will then talk about how Taiwanese manufacturers and companies can help European businesses. So, what enables me to give you an insight into the European sector? Well, Fastener Fixing Magazine has been established for 23 years and has a combined readership of over 45,000 for both its print and digital magazines. Geographically, the biggest readership is in Germany, followed by the UK, Italy, as well as other key countries in Eastern and Central Europe. The readership covers every aspect of the fastener and fixing sector, including distributors, manufacturers, machinery companies, engineering, as well as raw material suppliers. Thanks to the close partnership with the Fastener Fair brand of shows, we are able to continuously update and modernise our readership to ensure that we reach every part of the industry and guarantee that key decision makers are reading the magazine. A significant portion of the readership have job functions within higher management, including board members, CEOs, and managing directors, as well as those within buying roles, engineering, and quality assurance. Through this readership and our access to the market, we are able to gain a good understanding of the issues facing the sector. So, what is happening in Europe and the UK? To get a better understanding of what is happening within European countries, I will use the latest flash PMI data from IHS Markit and the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supplies. PMI is short for Purchasing Manager Indices, with the data compiled by IHS Markit for more than 40 economies worldwide. The monthly data is derived from surveys of senior executives at private sector companies. The PMI dataset features a headline number, which indicates the overall health of an economy, and sub-indices, which provide insight into other key economic drivers, such as GDP, inflation, exports, capacity utilization, employment, and inventories. These provide a highly accurate set of datasets about current industry conditions regarding manufacturing, construction, and services in particular countries. According to the IHS Markit Flash Eurozone PMI, which will be confirmed at the beginning of June, Eurozone business activity grew at a faster rate in May, as economies continued to open up from virus restrictions. Whilst business optimism about the year ahead continued to break new highs, price gauges rose further, hitting all-time highs in manufacturing as demand continued to outstrip supply for many goods and services. By sector, the upturn continued to be led by manufacturing, where output grew for an 11th straight month, with the rate of expansion easing only slightly from March's all-time high. The manufacturing element of the Flash Eurozone PMI, as already mentioned, a composite single-figure indicator of manufacturing performance, read 62.8, with it being 62.9 in April. The manufacturing output index read 61.9, with it being 63.2 in April. Manufacturing businesses also reported that new order growth decreased slightly for a second month running, but remained the third highest in the survey's history. Inventories of finished goods stock fell at a rate not seen since 2009, as firms increasingly met demand from existing stock. The inability of factories to produce sufficient output to meet orders was in part due to a new record lengthening of input delivery times as supply chains continued to deteriorate. Germany's private sector economy saw a slight pickup in growth in May, reflecting an improved performance across services, showed in the latest flash PMI data. The survey, however, pointed to a further loss of momentum in the manufacturing sector as record supply delays caused disruption to production at an increasing number of businesses. The manufacturing element of the IHS Markit Flash Germany PMI read 64.0, down from 66.2 in April, and the manufacturing output index read 62.7, down from 67.6 in April. Both of these were 3-month lows. While the number of firms reporting improved output levels remained elevated by historical standards, there was a growing pattern of companies attributing lower output to supply disruption and associated downtime at customers. The severity of the supply chain issues facing manufacturers was underlined by 79% of surveyed goods producers reporting delays in the receipt of inputs, a new record for the IHS Markit survey. Business activity across the UK private sector expanded at a rapid pace in May, with the rate of expansion being the fastest since the index began in 1998, reflecting strong contributions from both manufacturing and services activity. The manufacturing element of the Flash UK PMI read 66.1, up from 60.9 in April. This was a record high since January 1992. This was helped by steep increases in output, new orders, and employment, alongside a return to growth for the stocks of purchased components. The exceptionally high PMI reading also reflected a rapid lengthening of supplies delivery times during May, which has a significant weight within the manufacturing PMI. The manufacturing output index read 63.2, up from 49.2 in April, which was a 93-month high. A rapid upturn in domestic demand was reported by manufacturing companies, driven by sales related to the reopening of the UK economy. So, we've looked at the Eurozone, Germany and UK PMIs. What have European fastener companies been experiencing in the current market climate? To give an overview, I've highlighted the financial reports of some of the leading companies within Europe. Firstly, headquartered in Scharn, Liechtenstein, is Hilti Group, who has around 30,000 employees in over 120 countries, all contributing to making work on construction sites simpler, faster, and safer. The company states that it stands for quality, innovation, and direct customer relationships. In the first 4 months of 2021, Hilti Group increased sales by 14.7% to 1.925 billion Swiss francs, approximately 1.76 billion euros. In local currencies, growth amounted to 16% compared to the same period in the previous year. Hilti reports that the recovery trend in the global construction industry has continued into the first quarter of 2021, which has enabled the group to make a good start to the new fiscal year. Not only has Hilti Group made gains compared with the low basis from 2020, in which the pandemic had started to take effect, but it also achieved growth of around 6% in local currencies versus Q1 of 2019. When compared with the first 4 months of 2019, the Europe business region for the first quarter of 2021 recorded a sales increase of 22% in local currencies to 1.022 billion Swiss francs. In addition to a solid growth rate in Northern and Central Europe, the dynamic recovery in the Mediterranean countries in particular contributed to this result. For the full year, Hilti Group continues to expect a sales growth in the high single-digit range in local currencies. The next fastener company is Bufab, which has a head office in Värnamo, Sweden, and has over 1,300 employees. It describes itself as a trading company that offers customers a full-service solution as a supply chain partner for sourcing, quality control, and logistics for C-parts, including fasteners. Bufab's net sales for the last 12 months amounted to 4.8 billion Swedish krona, approximately 472 million euros. For the first quarter of 2021, Bufab Group reported a very challenging time operationally. However, it still managed to achieve its best ever single quarter sales. Net sales for the first quarter of 2021 increased by 8% to 1.423 billion Swedish krona, which is approximately 140.4 million euros. Bufab commented that by the end of 2020, it had already seen a healthy return to growth with most of its customers, with this trend continuing into the first quarter of 2021. During the end of 2020, this growth was mainly driven by its customers regaining lost production volumes from the beginning of the year. However, Bufab believes the growth seen at the beginning of 2021 to be more solid and mainly driven by stronger demand from end customers. Bufab reports that the dramatic shifts in demand caused difficulties during the quarter in global supply chains. Raw materials and production capacity were affected by bottlenecks and sharp price increases, with certain categories of components also difficult to obtain. Transport systems also experienced major capacity problems, particularly container freight. Bufab has therefore been hit with significant increases in the cost of components and freight, which in turn has led it to renegotiating with both its suppliers and customers. Headquartered in Zug, Switzerland, Bossard Group employs over 2,500 people at 83 locations in 31 countries. The company is a global provider of production solutions and services in industrial fastening and assembly technology. In 2020, the Bossard Group generated sales of 812.8 million Swiss francs, approximately 739 million euros. The group also reported a successful beginning to the 2021 financial year. Sales in the first quarter grew by 11.8% to 244.8 million Swiss francs, approximately 222.7 million euros. Bossard did outline that comparatively low baseline values of the previous year had strengthened the growth rates it had experienced across all regions in the first quarter of 2021. However, this only accounted for a portion of the growth achieved. In Europe, Bossard posted growth of 11% to 147.7 million Swiss francs. This positive economic environment solidified further after stabilizing in the fourth quarter of 2020. Alongside the difficulties of the pandemic, the past financial year also provided Bossard opportunities, which it was able to exploit thanks to its digital competence in the field of logistics and engineering services, which enabled the group to drive forward and expand customer projects. Finally, Vert Group is the global market leader in the sales of fastening and assembly, with more than 400 companies in over 80 countries and more than 80,000 employees. The group managed to achieve sales of 14.4 billion euros in 2020. In Germany, the Vert Group closed the 2020 fiscal year with a sales increase of 2.9%. The pandemic's impact on the individual industries supplied by the group varied greatly. Both the construction division at 12.2% and the electrical wholesale unit in Germany at 10.8% reported sales growth in the double digits. All units supplying the automotive and mechanical engineering industries, on the other hand, saw sales fall. Already faced with enormous pressure to help combat climate change, sales in the automotive industry collapsed in the wake of declining demand and weeks of production standstill. The mechanical engineering sector suffered as well. The group's companies outside Germany saw sales drop by 0.4%. Adalfert, the largest company in the group, showed a stable performance during the crisis. In the 2020 fiscal year, the company reported a sales increase of 7.4%. The potential of digital sales channels during the pandemic was also underlined, with the website of Adalfert registering almost 1,000 search queries per minute. Customers also logged into the online shop and the Vert app around 1 million times each month. So, what are the other factors currently impacting the market? Firstly, there are freight challenges. Over the last 6 months, there has been significant container shortages, not only in Europe, but globally. Whilst there were glimmers of a softening of freight rates in March, this was quickly dashed at the end of the month when the Ever Given container ship ended up getting stuck and blocking the Suez Canal. Whilst the ship was only stuck for 6 days, it is expected that it could take up to 9 months before the global container freight industry normalises as a result, especially when you take into consideration these ultra-large container ships only make 4 loops around the world yearly. Therefore, this delay will have a huge knock-on effect on congestions at ports globally. Due to all these factors, the availability of freight is almost non-existent between Asia and Northern Europe, with European companies being told there is no availability until June at the earliest. The shortage of availability has led to freight costs multiplying significantly, with some reports of costs being 6 times higher than at the start of 2020. In addition, European businesses are being promised container space one day, only to only be notified the following day that there is no longer availability. This has led to several fastener companies having stock waiting to be shipped, but no way of getting it to Europe. Another factor that could have a significant impact on the market are potential anti-dumping tariffs on selected imports of fasteners from the People's Republic of China. In 2020, the European Commission announced an anti-dumping investigation into imports of certain iron or steel fasteners from China. Products involved in the investigation include wood screws, self-tapping screws, other screws and bolts with heads, as well as washers. The CN codes for the products under investigation are listed within the industry news section of fastenerandfixing.com. Based on the current schedule, any announcement of provisional duties will need to be revealed by the 21st of July at the latest, although it could be before this date. Any duties would come into effect the day after the announcement. As soon as the announcement regarding the investigation was made, Fastener Fixing Magazine has looked to represent both sides of the conversation. Firstly, we invited the European Fastener Distributors Association and the European Industrial Fasteners Institute to submit articles on the topic. Whilst the European Industrial Fasteners Institute declined, the European Fastener Distributors Association, known as EFTA, did submit an article. Key factors EFTA mentioned regarding the investigation included the fact European fastener distributors fulfill an indispensable role at the core of a supply chain holding more than €2 billion of inventory, employing 44,000 employees and having a total annual turnover of in excess of €10 billion. EFTA also pointed out that any anti-dumping measures could disrupt European supply chains at a critical moment when the industry needs to focus on recovering from the COVID-19 crisis to protect jobs and maintain global competitiveness. EFTA also highlighted that any duties would threaten supply in the EU because a significant proportion of fasteners are sourced from China and there is no corresponding capacity in other countries. Finally, EFTA was unsure whether European fastener manufacturing would be able to produce the standard fastener products that are imported from China due to European manufacturing focus on high added value specialised fasteners. Alongside the associations, we also invited individual companies to give us their thoughts on any potential anti-dumping tariffs. Key issues raised were the level of any potential tariff introduced and the importance of it creating a level playing field, with many pointing to the effects of the previous tariff introduced in 2009, which was significantly higher than anticipated. As well as this, another topic was the potential for circumvention and how this can impact the market, and therefore our companies need to be vigilant in checking suppliers' capabilities, which is made more difficult by current lockdown restrictions. A lot of European fasteners manufacturers also stated that they would be willing to invest in the machinery necessary to standard fasteners if they could be confident that they would be able to be competitive within the market. Another factor within the market, especially for British fastener companies, was Great Britain leaving the EU following Brexit on the 1st of January 2021. Impact of Brexit has been that there have been ongoing delays at UK ports since the beginning of the year due to complications or issues regarding extra paperwork, electronic forms, and safety checks. This has made it more time-consuming for British companies to export their products into Europe. Another factor that could potentially impact the market is the introduction of the UKCA mark, which will come into full force at the start of 2022. The UKCA mark has been introduced to replace CE marking within Great Britain and will be the only recognised mark within the UK. However, it will not be recognised within Europe, who will still require products to have CE marking. Therefore, if a company wants to sell into Europe, they need to have CE marking, and if they want to sell into the GB market, they will need to get a UKCA mark as of 2022. So, all of these factors have combined to create the market as it is today. So how is this impacting companies? The sea freight issue, combined with increases in raw material prices, has seen costs for European fastening companies increase significantly, with the only viable option available to pass these costs on to their customers, with some companies already introducing price increases of between 10 and 30%, and this will continue to be the trend over the coming months. We are also hearing that there is a shortage of particular products within Europe, with the possibility of further products becoming difficult to source. Plus, as previously discussed, there is the possibility for anti-dumping tariffs to be introduced, which has the potential to further complicate matters within Europe. So how can Taiwanese manufacturers benefit? The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted not only the fastener industry, but every sector around the world, and has put a spotlight on global supply chains and whether they can be optimized. Through necessity, most fastener companies will already have been reviewing their supply chains, and this will continue as vaccination programs pick up around the world and lockdowns start to lift. A key factor in making sure that Taiwanese manufacturers stay a part of these supply chains is to ensure that Taiwanese companies have close working partnerships with European customers and keep clear lines of communication. COVID-19 restrictions are making it nearly impossible to carry out physical audits of new suppliers to assess quality and manufacturing capability. Therefore, Taiwanese companies need to be able to communicate virtually if they are to pick up new customers as well as retain existing customers. Those Taiwanese businesses able to offer online video tours of their factory, for example, will certainly stand out from the crowd and help reassure customers. Having an up-to-date and modern website with customer portals or log-in options will also enable Taiwanese manufacturers to stay close to customers, at least virtually, if not physically. Finally, you need to make sure that your business is being proactive within the market. With so many factors impacting European fastener companies, there are opportunities to attract new business, but to do so, Taiwanese companies need to make themselves visible. Thank you for listening.